Alright, everybody focus up. So, we've all heard about the sequestration that may be happening at the end of this week, and we think, oh, we've heard this before, this has now happened a couple times, that the end of the world is happening because Congress has manufactured a problem. And we think we know the pattern by now, that they scream a lot, and then we go up right up to the midnight deadline, and then they solve it right before, or if worse comes to absolute worst, maybe they go right a little bit over the mark, but within a couple hours, maybe a couple days, they fix it and crisis averted, right? Well, this one may be a little bit different. Because unlike with an entire government shutdown or the debt ceiling, those just actually can't happen for more than maybe a day or two or three. You know, the US government cannot just go out of existence, and the US cannot just fail to pay its debts for a prolonged period of time. The sequestration could, in theory, actually last for months or years, because what it is a 2 to 3% cut in the federal budget overall, which doesn't sound that drastic until you start looking at it this way. That none of the entitlement programs can be touched. The Social Security, Medicare, Veterans Benefits, all of those are out of the picture. And those are a huge part of the budget. So when you talk about just the discretionary budget, which is a lot of the things we like, which is all the departments, so it's the Justice Department, it's the EPA, it's the all the food stamps, all of the everything like that. That puts it up to 8% of the budget. And when you factor in that the federal government doesn't use the same January to December fiscal calendar, and that they've already gone through half of their year at full budget levels, and they only have half of it left, rather than being 8%, since they have to compress all the budget cuts into the second half of their year, it's now a 16% budget cut. So that's now a really serious chunk that they're taking out of it. And so if they do then go through with these cuts, a couple things that it would mean. First, just some of the direct hits in the government, and then we'll talk about what it means now going out into the broader American economy, and which is, by the way, called the end of the world in other parlance. But 100,000 fewer kids will be able to be in Head Start. We'll have 80,000 fewer lower-income kids on just child care. 900,000 people will be dropped from the women, infant, and children like food benefits, the supplemental nutrition program. They'll have 200,000 fewer participants in Section 8 housing, which means people will be thrown out of their homes, and an additional 100,000 fewer people served by the Homeless Assistant Grants program. So that could be 300,000 people added to the homeless population in the United States, and 900,000 denied their nutrition assistance. Internationally, which the politicians in the US don't care about as much, but I think a lot of us would, there will be funding for 3 million fewer malaria treatments, 2.5 million fewer women with access to family planning services, 650,000 fewer students receiving access to basic elementary school education, 270,000 fewer people with HIV/AIDS medication, and 60,000 fewer tuberculosis medications. And then the ripple out in the American economy is crazy. The Congressional Research Service, which is nonpartisan, it's what all the congressional offices turn to, say there will be 1.4 million jobs lost in the American economy by the end of the year if this goes through. So that's really, really depressing. And this is all, there's no reason that this has to happen. This is all because the Republicans in Congress have no incentive for it not to happen. They want these spending cuts because they want to starve the beast. They want less discretionary spending. They think it's a way to rein in the deficits. They don't like a lot of these programs. So they may agree that this is a broad tool and they'd like to pick and choose, but overall they don't have the incentive now that it's been decoupled from the tax plan. When we did this a couple months ago, we got a pretty good tax deal. But now that it's been decoupled, there's not that much of the negotiating table for them to step back from the sequester. And this is going through, set to take effect Friday, so anyone who lives in a Republican congressional district, get on the phone for the next couple days, next day, tomorrow, call your senators, call your congresspeople, get all your friends to call, because this one is not like the other crisis. It's not necessarily going to be over at midnight. It's not going to be over the next day. This one could really be the real thing.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought the whole way it was designed was so that it was like equally cuts that the Democrats would hit and the cuts. Like I thought like the defense cuts.
Yes, there's the defense cuts too. That the Republicans don't seem to be as upset about the defense cuts as everyone thought they'd be. So the military has started complaining about the defense cuts in the last couple weeks and really raising hell about them. But, so, okay, originally it was multi-level. It was going to be both the taxes and the spending, and those were going to level it out so that they'd be somewhat upset about the military cuts, very upset about the taxes, and then with it. And so,
by itself,
by itself, it's not enough. And the military will be able to kind of get around it. So, like, there was a Times editorial saying, yeah, the military is yelling about this, but it's not really going to affect them that much.